So one of the most important things for me is building a community rather than doing a lesson plan necessarily. So I'm doing a year-long community project that I'm going to explain called objective maps. And this is going to be something that's pushing classroom instruction and also pushing classes together within the class and across classes. So first, like I said, it's going to be a community project, and it's going to be objective maps are going to have the different objectives and different goals that students help create and that I create to lead classroom instruction, like what they're going to learn for the unit, or if they're going to stay in the target language for X amount of days per semester, then we're going to mark that objective off. And this is going to be on a wall where all the students can see. And it's also the point of this objective map is that it might be interwoven between classes and different levels of French depending on what the school is offering. So it could be French 1 is going to be able to see and be on the same board as students that are French 4. And they're going to be in charge of their own objectives, but they will see when different classes work through their own objectives. And this will be completely adaptable to other content areas. Your map just might not look like mine. And this can also shrink on a more personal level to have different objectives for students. So ideally, I'm going to have this map with all the countries written in French on one bulletin board or one wall so that students can see. And then on the map, the countries in blue specifically are probably what I'm going to hit on because all the countries colored are part of the International French-Speaking Society, and the blue ones are ones that it's their official language or one of their official languages, which is why you see it in Africa, you see Canada and Quebec and France, obviously. And then the smaller countries are something that, depending on what kind of class sizes are, how many objectives I want to put, those can also be included in cultural lessons. So basically what's going to happen is on the first map that I showed you, the countries that are French speaking are going to have outlines cut out on them and pasted. These cutout countries are going to be pasted on the original map, but there's going to be objectives written on top of them. So I wrote one objective example, this would probably be for a level 1 French class, is we can share at least 2 facts about each of our classmates in the target language, which is French. And so you can pick off, after everyone in the class is able to share at least 2 facts in whatever format that might be, if they have to write it down, if they have to say it, but like they do know their classroom's part of this. This is going to be one of the first objectives just so it can build the community within the classroom. Is once that happens, we're going to go as a class and we're going to pull off the outline of France from the map. And underneath it is going to be in black, well, whatever color, and it's going to have some kind of reward after students have gotten that objective. And so for this one, it has like the French phrase like dégustation de fromage, so it's like a cheese tasting. So they're going to have a lesson that is a cheese tasting because they finished one of the objectives. So this is pushing instruction and also pushing culture, and you can adapt the rewards in multiple ways, but it is important that you're like changing and differentiating and making it French based for me, or whatever your content area, concealing it within your content area to push future instruction so that it's more engaging and builds interest for students, hopefully. And so with this, there's a large cart, like grande carte de la salle, where you see class objectives and you push unit topics and students can see what they're going to learn either in that class or in future classes later on, or the older classes can look back and see what they learned in previous years and track other classes' progress on, hey, we did this at one point and now this is what they're learning, and that can connect them. And maybe the older students can help out the younger students, or just like reflecting in general. And so, like I said, cultural lessons, the rewards could also be language games and activities, but it is important that these aren't repetitive, so that students do get engaged and they get excited about the new kind of surprises with each objective. And then what I'm also going to do is have students have their own personal maps. And so on that, at the beginning of the year, or it can change because I feel like it's something that needs to be adapted all the time, they're going to have personal objectives that could be academic or behavioral. It's dependent on the student. And this will be confidential. It's just for the student to track their own progress and see what they want to accomplish within the year. And then they can depending on how you format it, it could be something you peel off I'm going to do regions of France. You peel off the lines of the region and there's a reward underneath, or they color it in and there's already pre-established rewards. It's very dependent on the child and what you want to do with it. And it's also going to keep students accountable, saying, oh, this is an objective that I haven't met yet, and this is what I want to work for to get this reward that I helped decide. And it's going to keep them engaged, ideally. You can also use this to do different tiers for RTIs. And if you do different tiers, the one thing to keep in mind is that students should be moving in and out of the tiers, ideally. And so they might have to restart, or they might miss certain objectives, and that's just something to keep in mind if you're moving them around for an intervention plan. And so what I did for one intervention plan is I used an example that we had in class when we went through the packets, and I did a gifted and talented student, and their personalized map has the French regions with some things that we worked on together. And so for this IEP, they wanted to expand on critical thinking, leadership, and project-based learning. And it's very important to have clear and measurable objectives for it. And so for me, I said I can teach a grammar review station to my classmates. I can talk about an authentic French film. And then the last objective would be that they know all the regions. So that is like something saying, finally, I can cross that off, that I've learned all the regions. And I'm not going to tell them the regions. They're going to have to search and discover those answers for themselves. So it's very important that you also give them choice on these topics. So these are broad, that it can be incorporated into any unit, so that they still have these options to cross off these topics as the year goes. If they are very slow on reaching one of the objectives, they have this opportunity to fit it in later. And these can be changed and adapted at any time, just dependent on student needs. But yeah, that is my strength that I'm very hopeful to put in my classroom one day. So if you have any questions or ideas about how you can integrate this, just let me know.